Welcome back to Raptor-One.
Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars. Chapter 19, Haven's Answer. The signal returns. The silence core from the Alliance ship still pulsed faintly in Raptor-One's hold, wrapped in shielding. Kael called it a cursed rock. Juno refused to touch it. Lyra treated it like a tool they couldn't yet afford to lose. Days later, while the crew drifted under the luminarium's veil, the comms chimed, soft, careful, a chord woven through static. Lyra froze at the sound. Juno's eyes widened. Haven. Kael's jaw set, or what's left of them. The signal wasn't words. It was song, a harmony broken and frayed, but alive. It reached through the bond like a voice calling across a canyon, not whole, but undeniable. Lyra whispered, "They survived." The call for answer. They followed the chord, a relay of shards, hidden nodes that had escaped Autumn and Alliance detection, guided them to a resonant vessel adrift among debris fields. When they boarded, Lyra half expected ruin. Instead, she found survivors, Mara among them, gaunt but standing, her silver hair dulled by ash. Haven's choir had fractured, but not broken. Mara's gaze fell on the shard at Lyra's chest, then on the silence core Kael carried in a reinforced case. Her voice was hoarse. "You carry both the song and the void. Which do you mean to serve?" Lyra didn't answer at once. The bond burned, Juno's hopes surging, Kael's suspicion hard as iron. The ultimatum. Mara gestured toward the survivors. Some bore bands cracked by strain. Others clutched fragments of shards that pulsed faint and irregular. Haven stands, but barely. The constellation called to us, and we answered. But now you must choose. Return to Haven, bind the shards to the choir, and we will stand together. Or keep running alone, and leave us to fracture further. Kael's voice cut sharp. Bind. That's a chain by another name. Mara did not flinch. Without binding, there is only chaos. The Autumn are not slowed by fracture. If we cannot unite, we will be erased. Juno's eyes burned. She's right. Alone, we'll break. With Haven, we could light the rest of the constellation together. Lyra's chest ached. The bond seared with Kael's defiance and Juno's desperate faith. The shadow of the Autumn. The survivor's ship trembled as proximity alarms flared. Through the viewport, Lyra saw faint red signatures on the edge of range. Autumn scouts, testing, learning. Kael slammed his hand against the bulkhead. "We don't have time to debate philosophy. They'll find us in minutes." Mara's voice carried steel beneath exhaustion. "Then answer, Lyra. Bring the shards back to Haven, bind with us, and we fight as one. Or go your own way, and we will fight without you. But know this, the Autumn will not care who chose correctly." Lyra's hollow. The hollow where command used to be opened wide. The orchard had stripped her of certainty. Concord had stitched her together with Kael and Juno, but now those voices dragged in opposite directions. Kael, freedom at all costs. Juno, unity, or nothing will endure. Mara, bind, or fracture consumes you. The silence core hummed in its case, a reminder of what the Alliance wanted, no song at all. Lyra's breath came sharp. She wanted to scream that she wasn't a captain anymore, that the choice wasn't hers. But the shard pulsed hot, and the bond pulled taut. They waited for her. The answer deferred. Lyra forced her voice steady. "Not here. Not now. If we fight while fractured, we lose before the battle begins. Give us time. Let us carry the shards onward. When the last radiant is lit, we will answer." Mara's eyes hardened. There will be no time left, Lyra. The autumn adapt. The Alliance spreads its dampeners. Every delay costs lives. But she stepped aside. For now. Kael exhaled hard. Juno's face was pale, torn between relief and anguish. The bond pulsed jagged, unfinished. They returned to Raptor-One. The survivors watched in silence as they departed. Behind them, Haven's song echoed faint and frayed, a question unanswered. Lyra gripped the yoke, her hollow aching. She had not chosen, but she knew the moment was coming when she must. Ahead, the constellation waited. Behind, Haven called. And across the dark, the autumn closed in. The song in the dark. The silence core still pulsed in Raptor-One's hold like a caged heart, its rhythm alien, out of sync with the shard's natural beat. Lyra checked on it more often than she admitted, each time expecting it to extinguish or ignite. It did neither. It simply waited. Kael avoided the hold entirely. Things cursed, he muttered whenever the subject came up, as though naming it too often would draw its attention. Juno, by contrast, lingered near it with conflicted awe, her hands hovering over its containment field as if she could listen to the quiet within. So when the comms chime came, sharp and careful, it caught all three unprepared. The note was unmistakable, Haven's song, fractured but alive. Lyra's heart lurched. She hadn't realized how much she'd believed Haven lost until the sound proved her wrong. Juno's breath caught, tears springing unbidden. They survived. Kael didn't move from the gunner's chair, his voice flat. Or something else survived using their voice. But Lyra knew. The song wasn't whole, wasn't strong, but it was true. The survivor's vessel. They followed the thread of harmony through debris fields where autumn wreckage drifted alongside shattered crystal towers. The shard pulsed faintly in sympathy, almost mourning. Finally, they found it, a battered resonant vessel camouflaged in the graveyard of ships. Its hull was cracked, its power weak, but its bands of resonance still glowed faintly. The vessel sang in fragments, a desperate lullaby refusing to fade. Docking was tense. Lyra half expected the hatch to open with weapons raised. Instead, Haven's survivors greeted them with silence, dozens of eyes, wary and exhausted, watching as Raptor-One's crew stepped aboard. At the center stood Mara. Her silver hair was dulled by ash, her robe scorched, her wristband cracked, but pulsing still. Her face carried the same unshakable resolve as before, but behind her eyes was the weight of a leader who had watched too many of her own fall. When her gaze met Lyra's, it was not accusation, nor welcome, but a demand. The confrontation. Mara's voice was hoarse yet steady. You carry both the song and the void. Which do you mean to serve? Her eyes flicked from the shard glowing against Juno's chest to the containment field Kael carried, the silence core, humming like a void that refused to be ignored. Lyra's throat closed. She felt Juno's faith surge through the bond, hot and urgent. She felt Kael's suspicion, sharp as a blade. The hollow inside her pulsed, aching for the certainty she no longer had. Kael stepped forward first, as always. You want us to bring the shards back to Haven. Find them. Tie them to your choir. His voice was low, dangerous. We've seen where that leads. Chains. Mara's gaze didn't waver. Without binding, resonance collapses into chaos. We survive the autumn only because the choir held. If we cannot stand as one, then we will fall divided. Juno's voice cracked. She's right. Alone, we're fraying. Together, we could light the constellation faster, stronger, before the autumn adapt. Lyra's band burned with their clash. The pressure of survival. Mara led them deeper into the vessel. Survivors lined the corridors, some clutching shards cracked from overuse, others bearing wounds carved by autumn claws. Children huddled against walls that still glowed faintly with resonance, their small bands pulsing irregularly. The ship itself sang in low dissonance, as if it hurt to breathe. "This is what remains," Mara said, her voice softer now, though no less firm. "Haven stands, but only just. The constellation calls to us, but we cannot answer fractured. If you bind the shards to Haven, the choir will rise stronger than before. Together, we may endure. Apart, we will vanish." Kael's hand flexed on his rifle strap. "You mean we stop being us and start being you?" Mara's eyes flashed. "You speak as if individuality is worth more than survival. What good is your freedom if the autumn erase every voice?" Juno stepped closer, her shard glowing hot. "And what good is survival if we let the autumn divide us? Haven is proof. Binding is proof. Lyra, we can't keep running." The autumn shadow. The argument was interrupted by alarms. The ship shuddered, its surviving systems groaning. Through a cracked viewport, Lyra saw the faint blink of red, autumn scouts, testing the perimeter. Weapons thrummed weakly as resonance scrambled to defend, their fractured choir struggling to unify. The survivor's song was jagged, fragile. It would not hold long if the autumn pressed harder. Mara turned back, her voice urgent. "Decide, Lyra. Return with us. Find the shards. Stand as one. Or leave now, and we will stand without you. But do not pretend the autumn will give you time to waver." The bond seared. Kael's fury blazed. "We walk away." Juno's hope burned. We join them. Lyra's hollow ached, every breath like a blade. The hollow speaks. She wanted to scream, to tell them she was not captain, that the orchard had taken that voice from her, that she could not carry both freedom and unity in hands that trembled. But the survivor's eyes burned into her. Kael's stare cut. Juno's eyes begged, and the shard pulsed, hot against her chest. Lyra's voice cracked, but she forced it steady. "Not now. Not like this. If we fight fractured, we lose before the battle begins. Let us carry the shards onward. Let us light the constellation. When it burns bright enough, then we will answer." Mara's jaw tightened. Her silence was heavier than words. Finally, she stepped aside. "You delay the inevitable, Lyra. The autumn will not wait for your courage, and neither will we." Departure. They returned to Raptor-One under the weight of Haven's eyes. Survivors whispered, their tones a mixture of awe and betrayal, as though Lyra's refusal had both spared and condemned them. Kael's voice was cold once they boarded. "We should have left sooner. They'll chain us the first chance they get." Juno's voice was a whisper. "They're the only ones who believe. We should have stayed." The bond pulsed ragged, the fracture between them sharper than ever. Lyra gripped the yoke until her hands hurt. "We'll see this through. Then we'll answer." As Raptor-One slipped back into the lattice, Haven survivors sent one last chord across the dark. Frayed, jagged, but alive. A plea. A warning. A reminder. Lyra closed her eyes, her hollow aching. She had not chosen. Not yet. But she knew the day was coming when she must.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Raptor-One series, please subscribe. This has been a Bad Karma Drone production.